So I had pulled some cards today and had a beautiful reflection and reading. At the end, I was reminded of the Lover's card and the Devil card. There was a lot of reflections there, especially in light of what has been brought to my attention with the Kundalini rising in the woman alone. So they were just showing me. Give me a second. Did I mix it back up in here? I did. If you want, I have a couple of decks, but the Rider Waite tarot deck is one that I went back to because I know that one most are familiar with being original. And it was the I'm trying to think where is it? Yeah. The one I was looking at, it was Rider Waite, but let me see. This one, you have the Lovers and the Devil. So so interesting. I just thought it was interesting how give me a second. I want to get the right deck because I don't want to confuse anyone. I'm just trying to figure out what I did with the where did I move that? Okay, I had the Awaken Tarot deck. That one was pretty vivid. Hold on one second. Let me see. So so that one, right? I love how this one was illustrated. It was the Awakened Tarot, with the Lover's card, and then of course the Devil's card. Folks are familiar with because I was like, the image came to my head when I was doing this reading, right? And I was thinking about the Devil card, right? Because I was thinking about, we've been talking a lot about divine energy, feminine energy, and divine masculine energy, versus karmic feminine energy versus karmic masculine energy, right? So, what was brought to my attention, right, with the Devil card was the fact that the feminine and the masculine are in chains, right? And then this chain is tethered to the foundation upon which the Baphomet sits. Yeah. And then the Baphomet has a torch in his left hand that seems to be put in the tail of the masculine aflame. And then the female, let's continue with the male. And then the male has his hand on his hip. Like it's a very intimate stance. And then his palm is out. Right? And it's almost like he's glancing and looking at the feminine, like he is owed something. And then the feminine is looking at us, the observer of the card, with this mute face, and her hand is above, like, I wouldn't say pointing, but it's just above the tail that is curved around her coming from the back of her, and her fruit is upside down. So I'm like, wow, there's a lot here, right? There's a lot here, especially when we are talking about that versus the Lover's card, where you see the masculine's gaze is on the feminine, and the feminine's gaze is on the angel, right? Which for me symbolizes the divine. She's centering the divine. She's focused on the divine. And it's almost like I was saying before, this is how those downloads are received, because when we do this, when we tap into source, it's you will see, even as it's illustrated here with the tree and the fruit, you see the serpent going up the tree, right? So for me, that symbolizes what I was talking about the Kundalini rising in the divine feminine, right? So much so that the divine masculine sets his gaze on her, because there is no loss in doing that, because her eyes are on God. Like her God, if they, you know how they say their eyes was watching God, her eyes is watching God. She's focused on where her focus should be. And so he finds it easy to embrace her because there is fruitfulness there. There is the mean to bear the fruit of the spirit there, right? By way of this unit. I mean, by way of him tapping into her and experiencing what she is experiencing with the divine, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I really like the Awakened Tarot deck, the Lover's version versus the Rider Waite one. Because even with them facing each other, I felt like I was feeling like there's a sense of intimacy there, which is between the two of them and not shared with the public. Because if you look at the Devil card, the feminine and the masculine are facing us, the observer, who are looking at the top card. And it's not to say there is shame in these body parts, but I'm saying that is typically the reality of karmic feminine and energy. I mean, karmic masculine and feminine union is that you get this this need for public indecency, like indecent exposure is like just something that is prevalent within this union, right? And even the Baphomet is looking at us with eyes wide open, nigga, with a hand up, like, I ain't do shit. I ain't do nothing. My hands are clean. Meanwhile, he's lighting the masculine's tail on fire, which kind of reminded me too, also of the enmity between man and woman, and man's animosity towards her. Of course, you know, look at it, is represented in his stance. His hand is out and his other hand is on his hip, like he's owed something. And innately, I believe that's true, because I believe that he is drawn towards her once she centers the divine, her divine purpose. Once she centers her divine purpose, yeah, it's natural for him to be drawn towards her. It's natural for him to be drawn towards her now, because she is focused on the right thing that's going to allow her to bear these fruits of the spirit, right? And so you see, like I said, an intimacy there. They're not facing us, they're facing each other. And then her head is looking up as if she is focused on the right thing. Yeah. And like I said, you have the Baphomet's eyes wide open between these two, right? On this kind of sort of pedestal. And they're literally his seat, the foundation of his seat. And I find it interesting because people who tend to operate in this karmic energy are often hyper aware of receiving something for sacrifices made. Yeah, and it's interesting because this nigga's seat is founded upon them. So you see this vampiric cycle happening, because it's like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff, but nigga, he's relying on you to do this stuff. There's no there is no him without you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so they out here, this is, of course, this is what the karmic feminine energy is subject to, is these dark practices. As I pulled in my cards, she's subject to these dark practices because she is not really tapped into the divine, like you see in the feminine, the divine feminine in the Lover's card. Yeah, so that's also the reason, like I said, for the fruit being in the reverse on the tail of the feminine in the Devil's card, because it's a karmic energy. It might as well be non-existent since the fruit is in reverse. Hence the reason why the karmic masculine hand is out, is like he's not being satisfied, right? And I was thinking of the devil versus the lovers. I found that interesting, right? Because when you look at the lovers, there is an attention to these individuals, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. But when you look at the devil card, it's not called the haters, right? Or the karmics. It's called the devil. Like the credit goes to the devil. The credit goes to living life in reverse. Um, I think that's a sense of grace too, because it's allowing those in this energy to understand like this is not a matter of trying to belittle you or trying to emasculate you or trying to put you under the foot of someone else instead of where you are ready are with this devil, right? So even in that I see grace because it's like to whom much is given much is required, right? And so because you see a self-awareness, a self-accountability in the Lovers card, I feel like it's befitting for that card to be called the Lovers because a choice was made here. A choice was made here for a woman to tap into her divine feminine energy, yet connect with the divine, and then in turn draw her lover to her, and where they could both experience this divine nature together. Yeah, and of course, we know this is a beautiful place to be because even on the physical plane, it means we're equipped to bring forth fruit, not only in spirit, but in the flesh. Yeah. And that's a big deal to the future of this planet. And yeah, you could just see the stark contrast between the devil card and the lovers card. I mean, you look at the lovers card, there's so much colors there, there's so much vibrancy. You see the angel in the clouds, the sun behind it. He has both of his hands up as to be like, hey, there's nothing hidden here, right? He has the glory of his wings being big and broad behind his shoulders. And then you look to the devil card and it's dark. This nigga got bat wings because his feathers is missing. He looks like a hybrid between man and the beast. Like, and what I was getting from that is that with the bottom being of a beast and the head being of a transformation of that, we can kind of know where the actions and activity of the body movement, is getting its instruction from a very beastly, mentality. Yeah, so we tend to go where our mind takes us, where we're focused. And I felt like the human chest demonstrated this wantingness of concealment, like because where our chest is, that's where our heart is kept. Yeah, and so if I can come off like I'm human, like I got love for you. Yeah, I'm like you. Look at me. My heart and chest beat just like yours. Yeah, I think it's an act of deception. Yeah, there. But like I said, it's interesting because, you know, um, you got the Baphomet setting the male's tail on fire. Yeah, I feel like the tail speaks to the beastly nature, which the karmics are operating in, right? The feminine and masculine are operating in this lower nature, which is hence the tails, right? So you have this fire of flame. This is where the fire is coming from the Baphomet burning his tail. Yeah. And then you have the female or the woman with fruit that is in the reverse on her tail. But then when you look at the lovers, there's a tree with 12 flames behind the male. And then you have a tree with fruit, 6 pieces of, it looks like apples. And then you have a snake going up the tree into the bushes of the tree where the apples are, right behind the woman, right? And for me, that just symbolized nature, the connection to nature. It's natural. This is natural. This is nature. The lover's energy, this is natural. That's natural to our experience. This should be natural to our experience. This is unnatural to our experience, the devil card. Yeah, it's life in the reverse. And I find it interesting that the Roman numeral right? 15, and then 5 plus 1 is 6. So you see an emulation happening here because the lover's card is a 6 too. So you even see the emulation of the 6 in the devil card. So and that's really what it is. It's living life in the reverse is an emulation of life itself. Yeah, it's this regression, if you will, trying to mask itself as evolving, and it's not. Yeah, they even I was looking at the chains on this nigga's neck, like why do you have your hand out? Like why do you have your hand out towards the karmic feminine? Like as if she can give you something in her karmic nature. And then it's like I feel like it speaks to the attitude that men have towards women today who are in this nature, because he's being aflamed with false knowledge, yeah, from this evil one, right? Misinformation to make him feel like, hey, if she would only listen to me, if she would only do what I say, yeah, my hand right now wouldn't be out. I would have what I need. But she ain't doing her part, right? And we know that's far from the truth. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. What I'm seeing in the lover's card and the devil's card is a consistency of fruit on either side. It's just one is in the reverse, meaning it might as well not be there. But nevertheless, it shows you where the fruit lies, and that's with the woman. So it's never a good idea for a karmic masculine to think that in her ignorance, he wins. Yeah, my advice was, and when looking at this card, I'm like, nigga, why don't you put the fire out? Why is your hand out, nigga? Why is your hand out? She can't give you nothing in this energy. And the fact that you allowing your tail to just stay aflame goes to show you ain't got your priorities straight, nigga. Go get some water and put out that fire in your tail. Yeah, before you burn up and combust, right? Because that's really what's happening. Yeah, she's got you in chains for the love. Yeah, like the song goes. Yeah, she's got you in chains for the love, but you won't change, huh? Yeah, y'all romanticize this emptiness, this barrenness of divine fruit. And no matter how much the masculine thinks that he can look to her in this situation, because the looking to her isn't the problem. The looking to the woman isn't the problem. This is the way you're built. But you got to understand, when a woman is not tapping into her divine feminine energy, she is not in the position for you to be enlightened by her presence. That's why you feel so empty. That's why you feel so unsatisfied. No matter what you do, there's something underlining not being taken care of, and you can't put your finger on it. But this is what I'm talking about now. This is why. Because in the actual divine union of a man and a woman, his gaze is supposed to be on her. But that's not a sin. That's not a problem when her eyes is on God. That's not a problem. Because the priorities are straight. You see? Yeah. So, yeah, it's not a good look for man to think that in her ignorance he will win. Like, you're playing with fire. That you're literally playing with fire just based on this card alone, just looking at it. You're playing with fire, playing with the karmic feminine energy as if you are going to have some type of come up in her ignorance is like playing with fire. And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure, sorry, that there are men out here who can testify to when they have dealt with a woman who was in a karmic feminine energy. Not to say he wasn't in one either, which is why they most likely was attracted to each other. But I'm saying when you try to stay in that shit with your hands out, like you was gonna, yeah, get what you divinely would receive if you was connected with a woman who was operating in the divine feminine energy. Listen, not gonna happen. You playing with fire. You playing with fire. you you literally are playing with fire because you sitting here listening to these lies from the evil one. Yeah, from reverse knowledge, reverse divine knowledge. Yeah, and I love that because even when you look at the lover's card, you see the angel with his eyes closed. And that's something that we recognize, is that when we close our eyes, it's like we're going inward. We're trying to concentrate on what was within, which is what we're supposed to do. Interesting that the angel's even doing this and the woman's doing this. And that's where I see the divine feminine energy being embraced and tapped into, which is why this serpent over here is climbing up the tree, because her kundalini is rising and doing that. And then the males, his gaze is on her because what? Because she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. This is why even when you hear people talking about the twin flame union, our soulmates, there's a runner and chaser experience. Why? Most likely because the female, the woman, she's not focused on her purpose. So the moment she takes her eyes from God, he runs. The moment she focuses on God, he comes towards her, as it's supposed to be. As it's supposed to be. But the devil, yeah, he gonna try to give you a whole bunch of outlets, alternatives to that, right? So much so, like I said, the woman has upside down fruit on her tail here. And if we know as within, so without, is it no wonder that we're dealing with such an influx of trying to convince us that this artificial food is sufficient? It's sort of a match is what taking place within these people that are trying to convince us that this is okay. Why else wouldn't it be? Right? Why on else wouldn't it be, if that's truly the reality for them on the inside, is that they're used to being barren and they're used to coming up with this artificial, replacement in order to cover their nakedness, right? In order to cover that. Yeah. And in this case, they, shit, in the card, they ain't got no shame. Yeah. They ain't got no shame. They out here. They out here. Yeah, giving it to everybody, right? Just giving it to everybody, yo. So that's why I said I really like the way they did the Lover's card in the Awakened Tarot deck, because they have the woman and the man facing each other versus facing us, the observer of the card. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful read. I really enjoyed it, and I'm grateful to the divine and my spirit team for bringing that to my attention, like the the fruit tree and the Lover's card, and then the kundalini, yeah, the serpent going up the tree and being on the side of the woman. Just one more thing, that's helping me to see that, what I'm hearing is real. Yeah, it's real, nigga. This shit has been around. Somebody was onto this shit. Yeah, and I'll come back with more, as like I said, as I'm receiving, I will give. But that's what I got so far. I think the 12 flames are interesting on the tree. Do they do it in the Rider-Waite Lover's card? Let me see. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. There's 11. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 12. Yeah, there's 12 flames there too. So I'm not sure what that means. I haven't even looked at the book. I kind of like to use my intuition to see where it's going to direct me. But okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna end that there, and if I get more, I will share it, y'all. But yeah, until next time, peace.